Rwanda, 100 Days of Horror. Content warning. This story contains descriptions of genocide and mass violence. April 6, 1994, 8:23 p.m. A surface-to-air missile strikes a plane carrying Rwanda's President Juvenal Habyarimana as it approaches Kigali Airport. Within hours, roadblocks appear across the capital city. Radio stations begin broadcasting coded death orders. Neighbors prepare to turn on neighbors. In the next 100 days, nearly 1 million people would be systematically murdered, making this the fastest, most efficient genocide in recorded human history. This is the story of Rwanda's 100 Days of Horror. Welcome to Dr. Rose Global Atrocities. I'm Dr. Rose. With my background as a doctor of health sciences and expertise in health law, this channel examines humanity's darkest chapters to understand how systemic failures in policy, law, and public health contribute to mass atrocities and how they can be prevented. Today, we begin with Rwanda, a small, landlocked nation in East Africa that, in the spring of 1994, became the site of the most concentrated killing spree in human history. In just 100 days, extremist Hutus murdered approximately 800,000 to 1 million Tutsis and moderate Hutus. To put this in perspective, that's roughly 10,000 people killed every single day. The Holocaust, which lasted 6 years, killed an average of 1,500 people per day. In Rwanda, that number was 7 times higher. This wasn't random violence, it was a carefully planned extermination campaign years in the making. When President Habyarimana's plane was shot down on April 6th, and to this day no one knows for certain who fired those missiles, the killing machine activated immediately. Within an hour, Radio HLRM was broadcasting coded messages. "Cut down the tall trees," they said, meaning kill the Tutsis. "The graves are not yet full," they announced. Roadblocks appeared across the country overnight. Interahamwe militias distributed weapons and death lists to local administrators. The killing was remarkably organized and systematic. It wasn't chaos. It was a bureaucracy of death. What made the Rwandan genocide particularly horrific was its intimate nature. Unlike the industrial killing of the Holocaust, most victims in Rwanda were murdered by hand, with machetes, clubs, and farming tools. This wasn't anonymous killing. Neighbors murdered neighbors. Teachers killed their students. Doctors killed their patients. Priests killed their parishioners. Husbands sometimes killed their Tutsi wives. In January 1994, 3 months before the genocide began, an informant told Dallaire that extremists were planning to kill all Tutsis in Kigali within 20 minutes of receiving orders. The UN's response was to tell Dallaire to share this information with President Habyarimana, the very person the informant was warning about. When 10 Belgian peacekeepers were tortured and murdered on April 7th, Belgium immediately withdrew its entire contingent. The UN Security Council, instead of reinforcing the mission, voted to reduce the peacekeeping force from 2,500 to just 270 troops, precisely as the genocide was reaching its peak intensity. The United States, still haunted by the Black Hawk Down incident in Somalia, refused to even use the word genocide because it would legally require intervention under the Genocide Convention. State Department memos instructed officials to say that acts of genocide may have occurred, a carefully crafted phrase designed to avoid legal obligations while people were being slaughtered. But perhaps more remarkable were the Gacaca courts, traditional community justice mechanisms that were adapted to deal with genocide crimes. Over the course of a decade, these local courts tried over 1 million cases, allowing communities to confront what had happened and begin the long process of healing and reconciliation. The Rwandan genocide teaches us several crucial lessons about how quickly a society can descend into mass murder. First, Genocide is never spontaneous. It's always planned and prepared. The warning signs were crystal clear: hate propaganda, militia training, weapon distribution, and systematically dehumanizing language. These patterns appear before every genocide in history. Second, bystander nations bear moral responsibility for their inaction. The international community's failure to prevent or stop the genocide wasn't due to lack of information. It was due to lack of political will and the prioritization of national interests over human lives. Third, the power of media and language cannot be underestimated. The systematic dehumanization of Tutsis as cockroaches and snakes prepared the psychological ground for ordinary people to commit extraordinary evil. Finally, justice and reconciliation are possible, but they require conscious choice, sustained effort, and innovative approaches. Rwanda's journey from genocide to relative stability and prosperity shows that even the most divided societies can heal, though the cost of that stability remains debated. As we remember the victims of Rwanda's genocide, we must ask ourselves, are we watching for these warning signs in today's world? Are we prepared to act when we see the patterns emerging? Because the lesson of Rwanda is clear. Never again means never again, but only if we remain vigilant and willing to act. Next week, we'll examine another contemporary crisis, the ongoing persecution of the Uyghur people in China, where many of the same patterns of systematic oppression and cultural destruction are unfolding before our eyes. Because understanding the past helps us recognize and respond to the present. I'm Dr. Rose. Thank you for bearing witness with me. And remember, their stories matter, their memory endures, and their call for justice echoes across the world.